Kasi pinasa natin yung Bayanihan Act to Heal as Act 1, March 24. Naunahan pa nila tayo na magbibigay tayo ng authorization or authority to the President to realign budgets and so forth and so on. As early as January, na-foresee na nila na i-address na nila yung pandemic. Yung unang kaso sa Pilipinas, I remember yung Wuhan couple. I think that was March or February yata yun eh. Naunahan pa nila yung unang-unang COVID case. In-anticipate nyo na.
Linawin ko to formulate and implement guidelines on contributions and benefits, portability of benefits, cost containment and quality assurance, and healthcare provider arrangements, payment methods, again, payment methods and referral systems. Yun po yung nakasaad sa batas.
Opo.
During the last hearing, Attorney Del Rosario said in this hearing, the Charter of PhilHealth that authorizes the PhilHealth Board or the corporation to implement or craft policies in connection with providing payment mechanisms and with the declaration of public health emergency and with the provisions of Bayanihan Act to Heal as one, the board has decided that PhilHealth has to devise a financing mechanism that will help sector to combat the pandemic crisis. Ito po bang payment mechanism pareho ng financing mechanism? Kahit sino naman po makikita na malaki ang pagkakaiba ng term. Ano po ba? Hindi po ba? Magkaiba po yung payment mechanism sa financing mechanism. So yung payment method nyo, doon, pwedeng sabihin sa payment mechanism. Pero yung financing mechanism, iba po yun. Ano po?
Opo, iba po.
Right. Now, kayo po ba, ang PhilHealth po ba has the power to finance any health case provider? Tingin ko po.
Hindi po.
Kasama sa mandate, ano? Tama po, no?
Ang mandate ho ng PhilHealth ay magbayad ho ng health services.
Correct. So, it is not within your mandate to finance. Ano? And,
Hindi po.
means that you are doing is an ultra vires act kung tawagin ng mga abogado.
Mr. President?
Okay. Baka ho pwedeng ipaliwanag ni Attorney Del Rosario because of the technical nature of the question.
Tapusin ko na rin muna para sa masagot ni Attorney Del Rosario sapagkat siya ay nabanggit dito. When the minority leader, Senator Frank Drilon, if there rendered on your advance payment mechanism, the Attorney Del Rosario then at first said that there was none. But eventually, he changed his answer saying that there was. Tinitingnan po namin lahat yung journal ng mga sinasabi niyo rito. Can you provide the committee with that legal opinion and read some highlights of it so that the others who are watching or listening to this hearing will be apprised as well? Kasi po, meron kayong hinihingi. Sige po. Kasi,
may I respond, Mr. President? Provider payment mechanisms. PhilHealth is a healthcare financing institution. We are a social health insurance agency. Social health insurance is one way of financing healthcare.
Senator Tolentino, go ahead.
Resource person to refrain from lecturing this Senate panel because we already know that this committee is part of the Congress crafted that law that you're trying to explain. So to abbreviate that, you answer directly the question propounded by the Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just giving a background on
Mr. President,
answer that I'm trying to.
The Vice Chairman is recognized.
yes, let's go to specifics, Attorney Del Rosario. You're
Yes, sir.
citing the law, no?
Opo,
But lahat ng batas, implementing guidelines, implementing rules and regulations.
that is correct.
Ang tanong ni Senate President, ano naging basis sa issuance noong IRM? Kasi for every circular issued by PhilHealth, meron pinanggagalingan yan. Specifically for Ondoy, for Marawi, for Yolanda, for Taal. And recently, and the latest, itong COVID-19. Ano naging basis noong circular 2020-0007?
Mr. President, the basis of our circulars is a board resolution
Yes.
passed by the
As in,
PhilHealth Board.
sandali.
Go ahead, sir.
As in, do sa Yolanda may board resolution. Ondoy, circular, may board resolution. And so forth and so on. Now, what is the board resolution that was issued or ratified or adopted by the board to authorize the issuance of memorandum of PhilHealth Circular 2020-0007?
Sir, I don't remember the...
I'll tell you, kasi tinanong ko si Corsec, Mangawang, yung board resolution PBR 2515, which we even issued a subpoena ducis tecum, di ba? Now, I will ask you now, kasi yun ang naging basis ng issuance noong 2020-0007, dated March 20, 2020, correct?
I'm not...
No, I'm telling you.
I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yung circular ng PhilHealth 2020-0007 is dated March 20, 2020. Tama? Legal counsel, if he doesn't want...
That is correct,
Okay.
Mr. President.
Now, what is the basis, what is the board resolution that served as the basis for the issue circular 2020-007? Attorney Lave, 2515, hindi ba? Okay. Anong date ng 2515? Andito, pinasupina namin sa inyo eh. 2515 is dated March 31, 2020. Paano nauna pa yung karitela sa kabayo? Ang umihila sa karitela, in this case, is the board resolution dated March 31, 2020. Because when I asked Jonathan Mangawang, kung kasi meron akong pinakitang unnumbered board resolution dated, yun nga, March 31, 2020, sabi niya, that is the same board resolution being referred to as yung board resolution 2515, signed by 7 members of PhilHealth Board. Now, paano nauna pa yung IRM circular for COVID-19 na dated March 20, samantalang yung board resolution ratifying the implementation or the issuance of that circular March 31. Yes, Corsec.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Senator. On January...
No, sagutin mo lang, tanong ko muna, paano nauna yung circular kaysa sa board resolution?
Mr. Senator, there is actually another PBR which was also submitted
where's that?
to the Senate. And that number is PBR 2496.
2496 refers to Taal.
No, sir. 2496, series of 2020. The title is Resolution Approving the Inclusion of IRM among the special privileges that may be conferred during fortuitous events and emergencies.
Yeah, pero
Mr.
para,
Senator.
yun yung board resolution para doon sa Taal IRM. Not for this particular case because walang board resolution at the time that you released the circular para sa COVID-19. Ang ginamit yung reference, yung para sa Taal, which is not supposed to be the case because, di ba, for every fortuitous event, wala pa nga tayo doon sa COVID-19 because that's another issue altogether. Because pag sinabing fortuitous event, acts of God or acts of man, di ba? Sandali lang, attorney. Ang tanong ko lang, anong basis ng Circular 0007, Series of 2020, di ba yung board resolution ng just for this particular circular, which is 2515?
Mr. Senator, may I answer?
Sige.
As I mentioned earlier, the board approved on January 28, 2020, January 30, 2020, PBR number 2496, series of 2020. This includes IRM among the special privileges that may be adopted or conferred during fortuitous events and emergencies. There's a necessity to approve this PBR because in previous instances when IRM was utilized for Yolanda, Marawi, etc., the board always issues a PBR for the release of IRM to specific calamity or fortuitous events. So the management requested on January 30, 2020 to include the IRM among the special privileges to be conferred to healthcare providers to ensure that our members will continue to have health access to healthcare services. And so when the IRM for COVID-19 was issued or implemented by management, despite the authority given under January 30 PBR 2.96, the management deemed it proper to submit to the board or for ratification the use of IRM for COVID during COVID pandemic because of the magnitude of the amount, Mr. Chair, Mr. President.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you, Mr. President.
Yes. Kung tama yung sinasabi ninyo na covered na yun nung January resolution nyo, ba't inulit nyo pa ng March?
Mr. President.
After we have already used it as the legal basis.
Mr. President, Mr. Senator, as mentioned in our, as indicated, stated in the minutes of the meeting on March 31, it was because of the magnitude of the amount to be released that the management deemed it proper to seek ratification or confirmation by the board of the releases of the IRM. In fact, when it was presented on March 31, there were already releases made to government and private facilities.
Attorney, ang 1 peso at saka 1 billion, pareho rin yun eh. Yun ang pananaw ng mga kababayan natin eh. So hindi ganun kadali yun eh. Yung legal opinion na sinasabi ninyo, now, that you have presented to this committee before and you are now saying, and Atty. De Rosario also saying, ang tingin po namin tuloy, talaga, we can only surmise that there is really something wrong with this IRM or interim reimbursement mechanism. Kahit hindi po abogado ang tumingin, I'm certain that the COVID-19 cannot be equated to Ondoy and Marawi siege, you know, and other healthcare, no. There were actual losses experienced by the hospitals and other healthcare institutions due to the fortuitous events na sinatawag, during the two instances. Kaya yung real sense of reimbursement, pwede talaga. However, the current implementation of your RM, advance payment for COVID-19 affected hospitals, is another thing. Yun po ang punto eh. Now, we agree that the intent of the IRM is notable, but it won't stop the Senate from casting doubt dahil dito sa mga nakikita natin yan. Now, with that, how did the board come up with the amount of 27 billion as the fund allotted or allocated for the IRM?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. In other words, what you're saying, Dr. Susi, is that walang authorization from the board, yung March 20, 2020 issuance, yung IRM 2020-0007, walang authority from the board.
There was a board meeting, I'm not sure what date the board meeting was, where it was discussed, but we were informed. This was
Only
not,
informed.
we were just informed and we were asked to endorse it.
And you were asked to endorse, but you did not ratify or adopt a resolution because the board resolution came after.
Yes, sir, that is
Yeah.
correct.
So walang authorization from the board yung IRM yung circular 0007 dated March 20. You were just informed
Yes, sir.
that they would implement.
Yes,
That's
sir.
another thing, sa implementation. We noticed na yung past issuances, Mr. President, if I may, yung date ng implementation or dissemination comes immediately after the issuance. Can you flash on the screen? Past issuances, pagka yung either on the same date or the day after, lumalabas yung dissemination or yung implementation. Pero in this particular case, it came a month after yung dissemination. April 22 na disseminate. Yung IRM, yung 0007, March 20. Now, in an effort to justify the date, in-antedate nila to March 21. But the date of the dissemination was on April 22. Kasi marami na silang releases, ano? Prior to March 31, board resolution, yung 2515, nakapag-release na yung PhilHealth ng 703 million pesos. Actually, 703,661,648.79. And then, prior to April 22, ang na-release, ang fund releases na ng PhilHealth, mas malaki pa, umabot na ng 9.29 or 9.3 billion pesos. So, in effect, hindi pa na-disseminate. Ang tanong ko ngayon, Mr. President, anong guidelines meron yung mga magre-release ng pondo, yung mag-i-implement, yung regional vice presidents, kung wala pang nai-issue yung implementing guidelines or what they call SOP? Kasi nag-i-issue sila ng SOP, nandun yung parameters, nandun yung guidelines, how to disperse, how to make a list, how to, all the guidelines are there. So how could they release without implementing guidelines or what they call SOP? That's my question, Mr. President. Thank you.
And who would like to answer that question?
Mr. Chairman,
What would have justified the release of 703 million and 9.3 billion?
Mr. President, may I?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the Senate. As a background, in January 2020, we were in a state of anxiety because we knew that COVID was coming. We knew how it hit the other countries. And so we were in a state of panic. So we wanted to be preemptive, to take preemptive measures. To be able to prepare our hospitals to respond to this pandemic, which we did not know at that time how soon, how hard, and how long it was going to hit us. Now, the computation of the board, of course, has to rely on management for figures because the figures lies with management. And the algorithm we adopted was to use the 90-day historical claim of the hospitals as the basis for the IRM allocation. So it is not arbitrary. And what we wanted to achieve was to prepare all the regions, the provinces, and the cities with a COVID war chest that would prepare them to respond to the pandemic. Now, in the administration of this effort, there were some, I must admit, some expedients that had to be adopted because hindi ho natin alam kung gaano katindi ang dagok nitong COVID. Nagmamadali kaming makarelease ng pera. But we made sure that all the releases were covered by a contract and that we would be able to account for all the funds that were available. We were getting a lot of rescue entreaties from hospitals that they had to buy PPEs, they had to buy disinfectants, they were worried about their workforce. So yun ho yung sitwasyon early this year when all this was happening. Ang intention ho ng PhilHealth ay maunahan ho yung COVID, yung tama ho ng pandemic. Yun po.
Thank you. That is a further dahil naunahin yung pitch na naging alarmado kayo. Nauna pa kayo sa DOH ng January. That's good. But may I ask Board Member Mercado and Board Member Cabati, was that the intention in January when you passed that? Yung 2496?
Sir, in January, as far as I recall, we were not talking about COVID yet.
O yun nga sinasabi. Attorney Kabading? How about you? You were there. Board Member Kabading? Yes, he's logged in. Anyway,
Mr. President, with indulgence of our colleagues, kasi pinasa natin yung Bayanihan Act to Heal as Act 1, March 24. Naunahan pa nila tayo na magbibigay tayo ng authorization or authority to the President to realign budgets and so forth and so on. As early as January, na-foresee na nila na i-address na nila yung pandemic. Yung unang kaso sa Pilipinas, I remember yung Wuhan couple. I think that was March or February yata yun eh. Naunahan pa nila yung unang-unang COVID case. In-anticipate nyo na. Thank you, Mr. President.